Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Championship here from Nice, France. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Buehler. Let's meet our players.
Shaun McLaren, Canada, winner of Pro Tour Born of the Gods.
I'm Yuuya Watanabe from Japan. Top point from Japan.
Look at Yuuya here. As he looks stoic, as he often does down in the feature match area. His opponent, Shaun McLaren of Canada, Pro Tour champion. The hair's back.
Oh, yeah.
He's let it go, and he's back. And it looks like our players are just about underway now. Vintage Masters draft here, Randy, and we've been sort of poring over all the lists and finding out what people have been up to. And Yuuya's made some interesting choices. Let's get underway here.
Here's interesting choice
Watanabe.
number one. Deathblade Elites in the deck, Carnophages in the sideboard.
All three of them.
3 Carnophages in the sideboard, 3 Deathblade Elites in the main. So he's got 9 plains, 8 swamps. He had more double white than he had double black, and he decided to run with the white base. And then he's got enough enchantments to get the provokes set up. So he's playing the Brilliant Halo, he's playing the Imperial Armor, he's playing Spinal Graft in his main deck.
Insane.
Spinal Graft.
You don't see Spinal Graft make the main deck very often in Vintage Masters. The card quality is very high.
You have to be really good at Magic to put Spinal Graft in your deck.
Yeah.
Or really bad, either way.
Yeah, it was
one
funny.
or the other.
I was looking at the deck list, and I was frustrated because I thought he was going to play the Carnophages, and you and I were talking, Randy. I said, no, I'm frustrated because I was wrong.
Exactly.
Anyway, a nice start here, though, for Yuuya with the 1-drop into the 2-drop. He's got Fallen Ascari, and all that McLaren can do is fire off a Chainer's Edict on his turn, too. But that's not going to have a huge impact here. It's just going to take down effectively a 1/1 for 1.
Yeah, McLaren actually has a Raphellos in his hand, but only 1 Forest. So unable to play turn 2 Raphellos and Acceleration. His deck is kind of interesting. It's green-black. It's a deck I used to call trees and removal. Like it is
trees and removal.
Like large 4/4 or bigger creatures. In this case, they're mostly worms. 3 Arrogant Worms. He's got a Vizara. He's got a Penumbra Worm. He's got a Roar of the Worm. What he does not have is Wild Mongrel.
Ooh.
Like 3 Arrogant Worms and a Roar of the Worm.
But no discard outlet?
0 Wild Mongrels in the list. Does have a Raphellos, though, and a couple of Findhorn Elves. And so he's got some acceleration. He's even got an Animate Dead. He's got some removal. He's got Death Head Buzzards in the main deck because he was worried about all the token strategies, whether it's Goblins or Battle Screeches.
This sounds exceedingly fair, Randy.
His deck is all good cards, but it's low on synergy. Like, it's not... He doesn't, if he could put a couple Wild Mongrels in this deck and all of a sudden it's got those explosive, powerful draws, as it is, it's a big pile of good cards. And I don't know if that's going to be good enough.
He's got a puncher's chance with that. I saw 2 Him to Turok.
What he does not have is a knockout punch.
Yes. A nice start here, though, from Yuuya. 1, 2, 3 so far. He plays his 4th land. Let's see what he has for this turn. But that Death's Head Buzzard could be a real issue for Yuuya, as it's going to hold back certain threats from Yuuya's deck. Certain threats are going to be able to get in no problem. Douthie Mercenary there has Shadow. Can just run right by the Buzzard, and it does here, and it looks like it's only going to hit for 2.
The Buzzard is just going to hold off Ascari. Yuuya's not going to attack with the Ascari because he knows Shaun would happily trade Death's Head for both the Ascari and the Mercenary. So Death's Head Buzzards has essentially turned Yuuya into a Shadow deck.
Right, so here's Mesmeric Fiend now from Yuuya to try to pick apart the hand from Shaun McLaren, and it looks like he's immediately going to take the other Death's Head Buzzard.
And he sees a bunch of double green cards and only one Forest.
Yeah, Raphello sitting there right on top, and there's also an Arrogant Worm, and he's writing down the rest.
Yeah, there is a Tranquil Thicket. So, I mean, Shaun does have access to the 2nd green mana. He just doesn't have access to it next turn. And he doesn't have the 5th mana. It's like it's super slow, right? He can play Tranquil Thicket. Then the next turn he can play Raphellos. Then the next turn after that he can finally play Arrogant Worm.
Interesting. Follows up with the second of his 3 copies of Deathblade Elite here and passes the turn back.
You know what he's probably going to do?
Set up one turn where he...
No, what he can do with the Deathblade Elite is he can attack, he can force the Buzzard to block, and he can use the activated ability on the Deathblade Elite to have it not deal or take any damage.
You're right, 1 and a white. So that's effectively going to nullify it, which is why he took the 2nd copy, because he can only do that to 1 of them.
Yeah, Deathblade Elites are nice that way.
Yeah.
All right, Shaun is going to cycle the Krosan Tusker.
Yeah.
Going to get a 2nd Forest this way.
Get that Forest, yeah. It's a little tough for Shaun, because he really would have liked to be able to play Raphellos this turn and start hammering out big threats, but he's not going to have that option.
The Deathblade Elite line from Yuuya here is pretty nice.
I like that.
Yeah, he's able to essentially... That's one of the nice things that Deathblade Elite does do is if you're using its activated ability, it just cancels out one potential blocker. It's like your little dorky 1-drop takes away their best blocker, and then your other guys get to sort of run around and get through.
All right, so there's the Tusker Forest, and of course he gets to draw a card here. Finds another
Edict.
Chainer's Edict. I mean, those are taking out real spells from Yuuya's side. They're not. They're sort of interchangeable.
Oh, Fintorn Elf come off the top too. I didn't see the Fintorn Elf. That must have been his
didn't
draw
either.
phase for the turn.
Very nice. So what Shaun McLaren's trying to do here is go big, right? He's going to try to start playing 5 and 6 mana spells continually that are just going to outpace what Yuuya is able to do. The downside here for Shaun is cards like the Mercenary there that Yuuya can just start pumping all of his mana into if he needs to, and taking big chunks out of Shaun McLaren's list that effectively dodge an edict effect like the Chainer's Edict that's in his hand and graveyard.
Yuuya drew Radiant for the turn, so he was out of gas. I think he's only got the 1 planes, though, so he's still kind of out of gas.
Yeah, you're correct. So it looks like we're going to see this play happen.
Deathblade provokes Buzzard.
Right, no great blocks here for McLaren.
And I think Yuuya would be delighted if Fintorn Elf wanted to block Fallen Ascari.
Absolutely. And then Yuuya is going to get to use his remaining mana to pump up the Mercenary to get in for an extra point of damage here. So even though Yuuya is effectively out of gas, he's found a nice way to use up most of his mana for the turn in a way that lets him keep the attacks coming, as Shaun McLaren's taking pretty big chunks of damage now. And that was 5 damage in 1 hit.
Yeah, that Fintorn Elf, though, that got McLaren to 5 mana a turn earlier than we thought he was going to get there. So
Did.
Arrogant Worm is going to be able to come down now.
That Douthie Mercenary is looming,
Yeah, it's
though.
effectively just the Mercenary.
Yeah, basically Yuuya is able to sneak in some extra damage to get McLaren down to 10 here, but Shaun does not have a removal spell that he can target a creature with currently, and that's going to be really tough because at some point Yuuya is going to be able to just play his 6th land, just say attack with this, pump it, attack with this, pump it, and then the game's going to end.
Yeah, well, right now it's a 3-turn clock with the Mercenary. If you get top decks a land, it goes to a 2-turn clock.
Right.
Which is fast enough. Shaun can't deal 20 that quickly. Meanwhile, on the back table update, whispering in my ear from the spotter, William Jensen is counting Storm.
Yes. Oh, man, I can't believe it. Huey brought his scuba gear to Nice.
Wow, he's going to Chainer's Edict himself to kill his own Death Head Buzzard.
Sweet.
Wow.
And he's going to lose his Fintorn Elf there. And it looks like he floated a mana, and he's going to play Raphaelos. What a great play from Shaun McLaren. Just effectively wiping the board for Yuuya, leaving him with just a 2/2 Fallen Ascari here. Sick.
Chainer's Edict is target player sacrifices a creature. Down goes Death's Head Buzzard. And don't forget, that gets the other Buzzard back into his hand.
It sure does. Oh, Yuuya does not look happy with that chain of events.
Well, he's okay with the planes off the top for Radiant. He's back in it.
Yeah, that is much better. All right, so Shaun McLaren thinking about how he's going to deal with these threats now. He's got 2 Chainer's Edicts in his graveyard. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 6 mana available right now, though he hasn't played a land for the turn yet. So there's a chance that if he has a land here, he just starts flashing them back, right? Just goes, hit you, get your Ascari, and hope you don't have a creature next turn so I can get your Radiant. He does still survive there, right?
I don't think he has a land in his hand. I think he cycled that thicket.
Right.
Yeah,
He could have drawn one this turn. It doesn't look like he has, though. All right, well.
So Radiant's hitting for 3.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a 3-turn clock. He does still have the Death Head Buzzard, though, which will trade with Radiant, right? Radiant would attack as a 4/4, but then once the Buzzard is gone, she's down to a 3/3 that took 2 damage and gets -1/-1.
Correct.
So the Buzzard can trade with Radiant, and Yuuya is empty-handed.
Wow, Buzzard doing work here.
Buzzard is doing some serious work. Killing the invasion creatures, too. I mean, normally it just like holds off the ground team, but...
Okay, so Raphaelos taps for 2. And it looks like Shaun wants to play his Arrogant Worm here before proceeding.
Yeah, that can eat a Fallen Ascari, right?
Yeah.
It can block the Fallen Ascari. He'll take 3 from Radiant, but he can play the Death Side to block Radiant next turn.
Right. Yeah, with this line, he takes 1 extra damage than he would have with the other line. But
he gets
he's
an
got
Arrogant Worm in play, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Oh, Idol off the top.
Chimeric Idol. Well, I think that Worm should do a good job of keeping that at bay anyway, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you can now attack with both the Ascari and the Idol. potentially get through with one.
True.
McLaren should be at 5, right? He took 3 from the Angel. Ooh, Giant Mantis.
We'll make sure that's up to date.
Yuuya? That's a legend. Radiant Archangel is a legend. He just played his second to pump up the first one.
Did he really?
Yes. Radiant is a legend.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
That's got to be
We've all
frustrating.
been there.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
And
the second.
Shaun's eyebrows go up
Jeez.
as he's just like, whoa. And Yuuya can't do anything but smile here as he realizes what he just played.
He just played a second copy of Radiant. He wanted it to be 4/4 so that he could attack through Giant Mantis. I mean, you can see why it looked like such a good top deck. But yeah, there's a small problem. Legend rule. I was actually talking to Pete earlier. I feel like the players who were actually playing when these cards were the most recent Magic sets have kind of an edge in Vintage Masters.
I agree 100%.
You know,
as somebody
your
who
William
wasn't.
Jensen's,
Yes.
you know, the guy, your Patrick Chapins. Those guys got to see these cards back when they were the real cards. You've seen all these interactions before, and you kind of forget about something like, oh, Radiant's a legend.
Totally. So this is really taking a good turn for Shaun beyond that, because as it stood, that didn't actually affect the board directly, but
The Giant Mantis is what affected
the
the
Giant
board.
Mantis is now holding it back, and Roar of the Worm was just hard cast. So Shaun is, I think, getting set to get his beatdown on here with the Roar of the Worm token starting next turn. He's at a very precarious 5. You know, he knows that Yuuya is going to have cards that can finish him off from here, so he's got to be very careful. But he's straddling that line now that you face a lot of times in Magic of when do I become the beatdown?
You know,
right?
you know what Yuuya needs to draw here?
What?
He needs to draw a card that's not in his deck. Laquatus is champion is how he wins this game.
Yes. That's what he needs. He passed it, though.
Yeah.
All right, Worm in. Rashad points out that it says 6/6. We don't need the dice on it there. Now I do see in
That's the
in
green
Shaun's
version of the
hand-
worm, though.
Yeah. Shaun's got a Hymn to Turok in hand here. And there is one card for Yuuya, so he can take care of that. But in the meantime, let's make another worm. And Shaun has really fully sort of swung the scales here. And I think here comes the Death's Head Buzzard as more of an insurance policy here.
Yeah, in case there's removal for the Mantis.
Right.
Sponge or something off the top.
Exactly. I mean, I think he figures that Yuuya doesn't have anything super relevant in his hand here. All right, yeah, get those worm tokens in
Trooper's
there.
not bad.
Oh, Trooper's quite good.
It's not clear. I mean, Yuuya doesn't have very much time. Also, by the way, like I'm sure Yuuya feels dumb for playing the Radiant and without realizing it was a legend, but it doesn't actually change the board. It would have just
Not
been
much.
trapped in his hand, and as a 3/3, that Mantis is holding off the first Radiant, so second Radiant in his hand wouldn't actually have changed this game very much.
No. The only scenario where it would is if somehow it traded with the Death's Head Buzzard, and then Yuuya would have a follow-up play.
Right.
But
I mean, the Mantis is still an issue there, but the other thing it
Yes.
could do is it's a +1/+1 if Imperial Armor comes off the top. Like Imperial
Yes.
Armor on Sultari Trooper is a way Yuuya could sort of mise this game.
Now, this does get interesting here, though, because Shaun now has to figure out if he can kill Yuuya quickly, or at least force chump blocks and not die to the crackback to the attack on the subsequent turn. Because remember, Shaun still has, I believe, those 2 edicts floating around in his
He does. They're
graveyard, and
both
he's
there.
got tons of mana now.
He does.
He also has to consider
3/6
attacking with all of his creatures at some point here to try to shut the door on this game as quickly as possible. So interesting stuff here, especially now that Yuuya's drawn that shadow creature, the Sultari Trooper. I think there's an Arrogant Worm in hand for McLaren, also a Hymn to Turok.
You know what wins the game for Yuuya that he does have in his deck?
What's it called? Tyrant's Choice.
How about Spinal Graft?
Oh, yeah.
Spinal Graft off the top would turn that shadow into a 5/5.
Oh, man. All right, there's Hymn to Turok to get rid of a Plains.
William Jensen has won game 1 with a 19-power Psychotog.
Willie Adel also picked up his first game against Shahar Shenhar in what we expect to be, maybe not a pure mirror, but 2 similar decks going at each other, sort of a red-based goblin-type strategies.
Yeah, there were 2 Goblin players at the table, it turned out.
And it looks like they're playing against each other in the first round here, so interesting. All right. Make some mana.
Just 9. Just hard cast Penumbra Worm, no problem.
Wow.
Just hard cast Penumbra Worm.
All right, now Shaun wants to try to set this up so that he can kill Yuuya next turn.
Yeah. He's willing. He knows he can't stop Yuuya from attacking once with the Trooper, but he wants to make sure he doesn't give Yuuya a second attack.
Exactly. The name of the game here at this stage is denying your opponent draw steps. Basically, he knows that Yuuya's going to get one more card here, and he's going to have to live with that. But he doesn't want to let him draw a second card because every card counts. So we'll see. Can he do it? What's the attack look like? So this looks like it means that Yuuya is going to have to chump block. Because if Yuuya could take this much damage, then Shaun would be taking a lot, probably dead on the other side. So we are going to see some amount of chump blocks. Now, Yuuya's at 12. The two worms are both 6/6, but they don't actually have trample.
Right. So he has to block both worms?
At least one.
If he blocks one, he takes 12.
He
He's at
takes
12.
4, 6, 12. Yes, so both worms.
He just activated Chimeric Idol. That's why you saw him tap his lands.
Correct.
Fallen Ascari can't block, so
Death's Head Buzzard
pretty
can be
straightforward.
blocked by
Radiant. But that kills Sultari Trooper. That is not the right line.
Correct.
All Yuya's outs involve top decking enchantments to put on top of Sultari Trooper.
Yeah, did he play the Tyrant's Choice? Did Yuuya
I don't
main
think
deck
so.
it? Okay, so that's not in his deck either as an out.
I don't see it in his sideboard either. I'm just confused.
He did take one, right? I remember him taking
I thought I saw him take one, but I don't see it listed in his sideboard.
Interesting.
Yeah, if he had Radiant
Ooh,
here.
he's peeling this one slow, Randy. You
yeah,
see
he
that?
knows. Shaun said don't do it, I think. Yeah, Yuuya scoops him up.
All right, and Shaun McLaren picks up the first one in a real squeaker there.
That was close.
That was very, very close. Any given turn there, and either player could have taken that. Quick update from our other table there. Shahar Shenhar and Willie Adel are tied up at one game apiece.
That is despite the fact that Adel played Goblin Ringleader into 2 more Goblin Ringleaders.
Wow.
But he lost.
We'll be back after these messages.
www.mtgo.com. Friday Night Magic expands to all formats starting in 2015. Get ready for Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts at Friday Night Magic. Check out your local store for details, and remember to tell your friends Friday night is about to get even better. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information.
All right, let's take a look at one of our side tables. We're going to go to table B. Owen Turtenwald versus Paulo Vitor Damarosa.
Owen's deck is cool. Owen got that Lightning Rift that we saw Yuuya open.
He did take it?
Yeah, Huey passed it, and then Owen took it third, and basically went into the cycling deck from there. So he's red-white cycling. He's got a Lightning Rift. He's got an Astral Slide.
He does have a slide.
He does. He has a slide and a rift, and he's got that balance that we saw. It went all the way around the table the long way, and he took it 8th.
I wonder if he played it. Did he play it?
Oh, yeah. No, Rift Slide can actually be one of the decks that can set up a balance, right?
Because you don't have anything
You're
on
playing
board.
enchantment. Yeah, you're exactly. Most of your game lives in your hand and
Wow.
in your enchantments.
So that's like justice, right? Like the balance ends up where it belongs. It's
did.
finally home.
Yeah, it totally did.
All right, Chainer's Edict from Paulo to clear off the board. No actual non-land permanents at the moment.
Now, Apollo, meanwhile, has the blue-green deck. That's where the Ether Mutation wound up. There's a Nature's Lore. He's got a couple of Mana Wars. He's got 2 copies of Grizzly Fate. A couple Elvish. Paulo did win game 1 here, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of blue-green value. It's not really a Madness deck. There may just not have been any Wild Mongrels at this table.
That absolutely could be the case.
I mean, he's got Thalicos Drifters doing its best to imitate a Wild Mongrel.
Yes.
Costs 4.
And then you have to replay.
Yeah. Sounds like Ether Mutation is how Paulo got the first game.
You and I were both pretty high on that
Such a good
card,
card.
and we saw it going around in the draft, just tears running down our face.
Yeah, no, it's like somebody has a
take
blue.
it.
It got to the blue-green player.
It sure did. Yeah, it sounds like things sorted themselves out pretty nicely as far as the table goes.
Yeah, the drafters cooperated, and they all kind of got to do their thing.
All right, so what does Owen have? Well, he's going to start by cycling a land away, and he finds his Rift.
Yep.
Got there, as we say in the business. And there it is, Lightning Rift pass a turn back, and things could get out of hand here. Owen's got like 5 or 6 cards in his hand.
He's got one of which is the balance, I think. If things get out of control. Yeah, there's
So is,
definitely a
is
balance.
this an upkeep crack of that search land there for Paulo?
Well, he doesn't want to draw land.
Yeah. So I think he's going to do it then, and then have a slightly better chance of drawing a non-land card off the top of his library here. Yeah, maybe not. Looks like it was main. He's just got something lined up for this turn.
Did hard cast Elvish Aberration time?
Is that what it is?
I see one in his hand. I can't see everything in his hand, but
Yeah.
could be the 4/5 for. Oh, Grizzly Fate
Oh, Grizzly
with
Fate.
Threshold. He was cracking a fetch land. Probably may have been the
Wow.
7th card in his graveyard.
Holy smokes! How
4 Grizzly Bears.
4 bears.
And it's got flashback, which I think the flashback is 7, right? He's already there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, he is.
Wow, that is 8 2/2s. You know there aren't many cards in the format that can deal with 8 2/2s, but Balance is one of them.
Yeah, the thing is, he knows about it. You guys,
Paulo
we
saw the
mentioned
deck
this.
list.
Yeah, he also saw it go by.
Also true, yeah. So Paulo should just try to
Just-
get the job done with the
Yeah.
4 Grizzly Bears and not flash it back until he forces his way through.
Interestingly, though, Owen can try to just manage the bears with the Lightning Rift, right?
He can try. I mean,
can
that's what he
just-
has to do.
Yeah.
He's got what? I
He-
see a Claws. I see a Renewed Faith.
I mean, there's almost
A
no deck in the
land.
whole format that can beat 4 Grizzly Bears like that without having a lot of pressure. And this is actually one that can do it even without the balance.
Yeah. Yeah, Owen has the ability to cycle and kill 2 of these. I don't think he can do 3 because he runs out of mana, but he's got 3 cycling cards in his hand.
He can also just hope that PV gets a little greedy here maybe
Sure.
and goes for it.
All right, cycle and kill 1,
Bear down.
cycle and kill another, gain 2 life. Yeah, Grizzly Fate with Threshold, no problem. I'll take 2. Net.
See, now does this incentivize Paulo to flash it back?
Yes.
Right? Is
He
this
has
where it's
to.
like, you guys got to do
He
it?
has to. It's his only chance to beat the Lightning Rift. Like, the balance is in his deck, but the Lightning Rift is in play.
It's sitting there.
Yeah, he's got to.
All right, so more bears. Whee! By the way, I love Paulo's deck so far.
Are we out of bear tokens?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Did we not have 8? We don't have 8. That's hilarious.
All right, that little sapperling back there is a bear. It'll be the first one to go.
You don't see 8 of them very often.
No. Now, the interesting part about balance, of course, though, is that it also affects other things besides creatures,
Yeah,
namely
it hits land
lands and
where
cards in hand.
Paulo would currently lose a land, and cards in hand is. I think Paulo would lose a card in hand too.
Right now, Owen's got 5 cards in hand, and he's still drawing a card for the turn as well.
Okay.
So Paulo probably played that land with that in mind. Like,
Yeah.
he's losing him anyway. You might as well try to take a few more cards out of Owen's hand if he does have balance. Oh, we found the bear.
Yep. Now, how does Owen play this? He's got to balance, right?
I think you just have to. Even if you can only kill a couple of them, he's gonna take a huge chunk of damage either way. The question is, how does he want to kind of line everything up? If he's got a land to drop, he has Bassandra there, and he could play both, leaving him with a Bassandra versus a bear.
Oh, that's pretty good. You
Yeah.
balanced a 1 creature, and then you can rift the bear away after.
Right. I don't know if he has.
I think he has
a
cycling lands
tap
only,
land.
yeah.
Yeah. So then he has to go through the ramifications of waiting a turn to do this.
You can't wait a turn.
Well, the thing is, Paulo's not going to have reach, and I don't mean can block flying. I mean he's not going to have any
Yeah, but
way
it's
to kill.
12 power right now.
No, if he's at 18, you take 12. He's got to consider it.
First match result, by the way. Shahar got there.
Shahar got there in the
Shenhar
Goblin
over
mirror.
Adel. Not quite a mirror, but yeah, the 2 goblin decks ran into each other, and Shahar's proved victorious.
All right, so let's see what Owen comes up with. It does feel like you have to ultimately, though, fire off that.
Yeah, this
that
is a
balance
balanced
here.
turn. It's just you're just managing like the lands and the hand and the cards in hand part of it now.
Right.
Four mana is not balanced mana. What is that card? Oh, no, that's
Is it
the
resurrection? Yeah, okay.
Jeez, he puts a 5/5 flyer into play, so it's your Bassandra line just better.
Wow.
Because this line only takes 6 mana. So now he's going to balance to 1 creature, 6 land, and is that 3 cards in hand or 4?
He's got 4.
Back table, by the way, William Jensen just has brain freeze for 21 cards.
This is after hitting for Psychotog with 19 in the first game.
Yeah, well, look, if you need to, you can brain freeze yourself to make more Psychotog food in that deck.
I have never seen that happen. I'm so happy that it exists. So that's Eternal Dragon here for Turtenwald versus Bear.
Yes. and Eternal Dragon and Lightning Rift versus Bear.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks
what
like
a huge play for Owen. That balance was insane.
Yeah, it turns out that card's really powerful if you can set it up.
And I thought it was fair all these years.
It's White's version of fair.
Yeah, it is. You learned that lesson early in your Magic career. All right, so what does Paulo come up with to recover from this savage beating? Well,
he comes up with game 3.
Cards. He gets cards. This could be interesting here. That's exiled. There we go. So deep analysis. And I see our special friend here, Randy. Aether Mutation is going to put a ton of tokens onto the battlefield here.
Wow. That's quite a good answer.
It sure is. Eternal Dragon right back to the hand. And now Owen's facing a similar problem to last time. Obviously, a lesser version of it, but we're going to hang out on this match for a little while longer.
Yeah, I want to see how this turns out.
This one has just been too fascinating for me to leave.
This is heavyweights throwing, trading knockout punches.
No kidding.
Love it.
This has been absolutely
Is it going to be like this all week?
Yes.
I didn't get to cast this tournament last year.
This is going to be just like this.
For just 5 days of it.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Welcome, Randy, to heaven, my friend.
Love it.
Yeah. We've chained ourselves to the booth. We're not the only commentator pair in the booth, but we're trying to be. All right, so what does Owen do to recover here? He's got a lot of tools. Here's a Chartooth Cougar, which is going to take down the lone bear that was left and get Owen another mana. Wow, is that his library? That looks a little light to me.
Well, you go through a lot of it. You're just cycle.
But that could be an issue down the line if he doesn't, have big pressure. I don't know the life totals currently, so it's hard to say if Paulo's ready to sort of, clear things off.
Owen's on 16, PV's on 17.
Right. So that is actually a consideration here because Owen should be able to deal with these Saprolings one way or another. Maybe play a creature, cycle something.
I mean, he's got infinite cycling with Eternal Dragon.
Yes.
Or until he runs out of cards to draw, he can just keep cycling Eternal Dragon.
I'm wondering if, how Owen's actually going to face his library as a potential issue here down the line if this game continues along the same path.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pass a turn back to PV. Who's going to attack for 6 damage here. One of them's going to get shot down. And it does look like Owen has to just sort of manage it here.
What? That William Jensen brain freeze didn't get it done?
It was not enough. Li Shitian manages to equalize with 1 card left in his library.
Wow.
And wow, now Paulo's found a second Goblin Grizzly Fate. The Bears are back.
I don't...
How is Owen supposed to deal with this?
I don't
He's
know.
got 10 creatures on the battlefield. And hey, there's 4 more waiting in the graveyard.
This is after he balanced away 6 creatures.
Yes, this is all that same game. This is just great stuff. Vintage Masters. This is just great.
I think PV's got it. I thought it was going to game 3 after that
I
balance.
did too.
That looked great for Owen, but the second Grizzly Fate is tough. The Aether Mutation bought him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grizzly Fate with Threshold and Flashback into Aether Mutation into Grizzly Fate with Threshold and Flashback. Throw in a deep analysis for value in the middle.
Owen has his engine going. He
does?
can Lightning Rift as many times as he wants. I just don't think it's going to matter.
Not good enough. Paulo Vitor Damodorosa, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. 3 bears, 6 Saprolings, 4 more bears incoming.
PV's seen the deck list. There's just only the 1 balance.
Yes. Pyroclasm, not in Vintage Masters.
No, the rest of it is all 1-for-1s.
Yeah, and Owen, like it's sad because Owen's got himself to the point where he kind of wanted to be, and Paulo just had the answers. And here's more cycling happening here. This is a Noble getting cycled for a Plains, which he's going to immediately play. Killed a bear, suppose. And everybody comes in. And there's a solar flare on a bear, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 damage.
And it deals the Sapperling too. Cycle to deal 1, Lightning Rift to deal 2.
Right.
I mean, he still takes, what, 6?
8.
In between. Takes 7.
Right.
Down to 1.
And Owen's at 1.
Yeah, I don't think he can kill those creatures fast enough. Yeah, and Paulo's just going to flashback the Grizzly Fate.
Yeah, he knows the list, and he knows that there's nothing to fear here. And he can just go full bear mode. And
what a game.
Paulo Vitor Damarosa is going to pull this one out, it looks like, as I don't think Owen has anything left in his list. I mean,
Paulo's
look at
up
that
a game,
board.
right? This is the match, right? Paulo's up a game?
Paulo is up a game, that's right. Owen's just doing some double checking here to make sure there's just something that he can do. I mean, how do you lose with Lightning Rift 6 cards in your hand and infinite lands?
Yeah.
Like, it's so tough, but
It happens
well,
sometimes.
we found it.
Yeah.
The second Grizzly Fate, too. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think the Aether Mutation alone was good enough. He could have killed all the Sapperlings. It was the second Grizzly Fate. What a cool game. I love this format.
Yeah, this is great.
It's really good stuff.
Kill a bear. And that's going to do it. Owen Turtenwald extends a hand. Let's jump back over to our main feature match where we've got Shaun McLaren up a game against Yuuya Watanabe, and they are underway in their second game currently.
Yeah, it looked like Shaun had a turn 2 him to Turok to try to take the sting out of Yuuya's draw. Yuuya's using Paralyze to sort of force his way through.
I do enjoy a Paralyze, Randy. Kind of found my friend Paralyze
Yuuya's
with
got all
Vintage
his-
Masters.
He's got all his creatures turned sideways, which is kind of where he wants them. But, Famine!
Famine. He's actually got that in the main deck. He would have brought it in if it wasn't already, but it's going to deal 3 damage to each creature. It does hit players as well, so it can get a little sketchy, but plenty good here.
Yeah, no, it is
Looks
effectively
like,
a
what was
Wrath
that,
of
a 4
God.
for 1?
Yeah, he got...
He didn't get the Chimeric Idol, right, because it was in artifact mode. So
yes.
He did get to kill 3 creatures, though. But here's Yuuya Watanabe following right back up with the Soltari Trooper.
But he's hellbent. That's it.
Yes.
He's basically down to just the Trooper, which is right where he was last game.
And here's Ring of Gix for Shaun McLaren, a great card. Those of you familiar with Icy Manipulator, was this a fixed Icy Manipulator? Is that
basically.
what that was?
Yeah. 6 mana. 3 mana Icy, but with Echo, so you got to pay 6 for it. Very good in Limited. I mean, never...
Incredible and limited.
Sort of almost made the cut into Constructed when there was a lot of sort of artifact-based decks. But yeah, great Limited card for sure. He's, of course, going to pay the Echo, and now he's answered the Trooper. Yuuya's got to draw something off the top.
He does. It feels like Shaun is going to be able to close this thing out, just given the fact that he's got, 4 cards in his hand. But you never know. Yuuya's deck is definitely capable of just going threat, 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 and kind of overwhelming what Shaun's trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, Shaun's still pinched on mana. It's not like he can start attacking with the Arrogant Worm. I mean, he's clearly paid the 4 to untap it once with the Paralyze, and now he's just got a 4/4 wall on defense. Giant Mantis can't really attack through Chimeric Idol either.
Did Shaun have a Finthorn Elves or something
Looks like it, yeah.
before? Is that how we got that worm in play?
I think it died to the Famine. Yeah, it died to the Famine.
Right.
He's got an Animate dead, but there's no juicy targets at this point. Does he just start attacking with Death's Head Buzzard? Is that the line? Can't do it yet because he wants to leave mana for Ring of Gix. I guess the only spell he could play that turn would have been the Animate dead, but there weren't any targets worthy. I don't know. I might have animated Dauthi Mercenary there just to get a clock on the table.
As opposed to doing nothing? Yeah, that does seem...
I mean,
like, is
saving
he
it for later.
waiting for something, like, really sweet, or he's going to cycle away a Thicket there?
Oof.
He just found Visara.
Visara the Dreadful. That's a good Magic card.
I think that's exactly what Yuuya is going to be thinking when it hits the table in a turn or two here. Dreadful indeed. She is nasty. I mean, that card completely dominates any board that it's on, especially in limited, where we're creature based here. This is a
Shaun is not willing to tap out for it though. He's not willing to take a trooper hit. He's leaving up the mana to activate Ring of Gix. He wants the 7th land before he plays Visara.
Yeah, I mean that turn he couldn't anyway because he cycled the thicket.
The thicket to draw it. Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. We don't actually know if he would skip a Gix activation for Visara.
I'm curious. He's at 7.
Yeah, no, I thought it was totally reasonable to just play the buzzard and say go rather than tap out for Visara.
I think so too.
Find out next turn.
Yuuya's trying to find a way to defeat Shaun. You'll see the numbers in parentheses next to our players. That's their ranking, their current ranking on the top 25 pro rankings, and you'll see a lot of parentheses numbers in the World Championship.
Most of the top 25 is here.
Shaun enjoying his spot at number 4 in the world currently. Yuuya's number 9, and he'll bounce around. He's just sort of always in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to stay in the top 25, but not for Yuuya.
There's only 3 guys who've actually played all 3 of these super exclusive World Championships. We're retconning the Players' Championship from 2 years ago, the one Yuuya won.
Yep.
Calling it that year's World Championship seems reasonable. So there have been 3 of these. Okay, Shaun drew the 7th land, so
he did.
He gets to play Visara and still have ring mana. But yeah, there's only 3 guys who played all 3 of them. Yuuya's one of them.
Yep.
Reed Duke.
Yep.
And Josh Eder-Layton.
Yep.
That's it. Those are the only guys who played all 3.
Super impressive. I actually interviewed Reed about it. We might get a chance to watch it throughout the course of the week here, and I asked him about that, what it was like to play in all 3.
Yeah, it's definitely everyone, all the top pros, their year kind of revolves around trying to get back to Worlds.
Yeah. I'll give you a hint at what he said. That's not his goal.
Getting back's not good enough.
All right, so here's Mesmeric Fiend now for Yuuya, and he's going to see a Mantis as well as the Animate Dead. And Yuuya's got to do a quick graveyard check to make sure that
there's really
Shaun
not
can't
much.
get anything good back. That's probably more of an insurance plan for his Visara
That
at this
Animate
point.
Dead is the most likely creature for it to get is Visara, I think.
Yeah. But this is really just Yuuya slowing, like trying to slow the bleed here. Because with Visara on the battlefield, if Yuuya were to take something that was really important to Shaun, he could just kill the Mesmeric Fiend and take it back. And I think what's going to happen here is that Shaun's probably just going to ignore the Fiend. And this is an interesting design thing too, Randy. You'll taking a look at Visara on the right-hand side of your screen there. You don't see this very often anymore. A creature that attacks really well, but also has an activated ability that has it tap, where you have this decision of, do I want to do something awesome or something else awesome? They tend to sort of be one or the other these days. But this is an interesting decision for Shaun, because he also might just want to start hitting for 5, right? If he's not that worried about the board state, he can just start cracking. Now, if he feels like this game's going to go for a few more turns anyway, he'll start picking off creatures from Yuuya, because Yuuya really can't win from that point.
And he's seen the list, so he knows there's no reach. There's no like Laquatus' champion coming down from the top rope or anything.
Right.
Yeah, Buzzard pecks away. Yeah, Visara doesn't actually change the math. She can. Oh.
Oh my gosh, we're getting an update from our back table about Huey Jensen playing 2 brain freezes on his go-off turn for 31 mil cards.
That was enough?
Which got there.
Okay. Game 2, it wasn't enough.
No.
2 brain freezes did not get it done. All right,
All right,
just extends
Yuuya
the
has
hand.
seen enough as Shaun McLaren has really put his stamp on that game with some really powerful stuff, Visara, Ring of Gix, and he defeats Yuuya Watanabe 2-0.
Wow, that was a fun round.
That was a fun round.
Didn't actually get Huey on camera, but I feel like we pretty much did.
Huey
brain freezes and Psychotogs.
is on Storm. He's not the only one.
No, but he's not really a Storm deck. He's he's a Psychotog deck.
I mean, you're saying that, but he just double brain froze his opponent out for 31. He's also a Storm deck.
Also a Storm deck, I will give you. But I mean, he could have attacked for the win from Psychotog, I'm hearing, except there was one blocker. So he's like, all right, fine, I'll win this way. But I mean, what he's got is a control deck. I mean, we've got the list here, right?
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's a lot of counter spells. He got the Mana Drain that was floating around. So he's got 2 Psychotogs and a Palinchron. He's got 2 Nightscape Familiars. While he is playing 2 Dark Rituals, he is playing the Temporal Fissure. All right, fine, it's a Storm deck. I concede.
It's both. It is both.
But the fact that it's both, he's got 2 Plea for Power.
2 of them.
2 of them, both 2 Plea for Powers, 2 Deep Analysis. He's got a Turnabout in the deck. So yeah, he basically his creature set is just 2 Psychotogs and a Palinchron. Yeah, this is an awesome, like, it's a Psychotog Storm deck. I don't know which one's plan A, which one's plan B, but both plans are awesome.
Yeah, and he gets to choose, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as the game progresses, he gets to take a look and say, well, in this particular matchup, I mean, because the thing about Psychotog that you have to remember is it's a great blocker, too.
Oh,
it
yeah,
just
it's
comes
spectacular.
down and just blanks everything
Absolutely.
from attacking
You can't
into
attack through it.
Yeah, I learned that in Vintage Masters, because that was the
Those
first
of us
time
who were
I
playing,
had a chance.
12 years ago knew it from Constructed already, but yes.
Right. There are 2 drafters in our field that have drafted Storm.
Yes.
Not just Huey Jensen.
Yes.
Now, this was at a different table.
Yes.
There's really only room for 1 Storm player, but we'll bring you all that and more in a little bit. For now, let's send it back to the news desk where Richard Hagan and Simon Gertzen await to talk a little bit more about Vintage Masters.
All right, thank you so much to the guys in the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe, Randy Buehler down there with a terrific match. Shaun McLaren taking out Yuuya Watanabe in round 1. Meanwhile, William Jensen over Li Shi-chan with some pretty entertaining stuff. William Jensen's got a terrific deck. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a lot more about Vintage Masters, and we're going to set things up to stick it on YouTube for you for perpetuity. So if you're getting into Vintage Masters, you can look at some of the key archetypes. So coming right up, it's a look inside Vintage Masters.